when you see the word convergence in the lead of a press release, and you saw it, 15 years ago with the same problems, you kind of wonder what's going on.
What is going on?
Well, I think one of the issues that I was trying to bring up was giving people a little history lesson. Since I'm so old, which I am, Carl, I'm sorry to say, I've been around for a lot of this. And one of those things I wanted to point out was that Jeff Bewkes, the CEO of Time Warner, and Richard Plepler, who ran HBO, were both very much against the AOL Time Warner deal at the time it happened. And so I wanted to sort of give people some context of what it was like then and how much it matters today, because one of the big parts of this deal is for different cultures to come together. A phone company is not that much different from an internet company, and how this company is now going to cope with the differences that they have.
Kara, it seems like back then in 2000, the argument about Time Warner was, here is this old school media behemoth that doesn't really have a great answer for digital. The content argument these days, though, has changed, hasn't it? I mean, with the rise of Netflix, with Amazon getting more into purchasing content, we're talking about being in a content golden age. How does that change the way people are looking at this deal?
I guess. I still think they didn't get digital. That's why they're selling. They could have done Netflix. They could have done any number of these things. They could have done lots and lots of these internet efforts in the content space. They could have done Snapchat, and this company never did that. And it makes good content, and listen, I love Game of Thrones and everything else, but they never developed a true digital offering or a true digital answer to what was happening. So now they're selling their content to a company that presumably can help them get better digital distribution. It just seems like you kind of wonder if they had done it right back then, what company would exist today. And I mean that on both sides. I don't mean it just on the Time Warner side, but they were super difficult. And the AOL people, as I noted, were pretty sketchy. But conceptually, the idea was dead on correct, which is combining distribution and content. And you can imagine what they could have done had they behaved better.
Well, I mean, I guess I would argue that there's no way you can discount the cultural challenges, how these things are going to fit together. But I think it's really important to also figure out the financial side of it. In 2000, here's what happened last time. Time Warner traded the entire company for 45% of this new company, which was basically trading it for internet bubble script, which was AOL stock. So that set the bar at a certain place for how much this sort of synergistic vision had to come about. Whereas right now you have AT&T effectively buying one of its suppliers. They operate along the same food chain. It's not a monumental valuation. It's actually kind of reasonable in the scheme of things. So I think that's where it's different.
Yeah, I get that, but you're caught up in the financial things. If AOL had done it correctly, they could have been in lots and lots of positions. And I get your point that it was internet script, but is Google internet script? There's lots and lots of companies that then really grew into their valuation. And
I think Google would have been if it was public then.
I guess. But again, they were there. They had the right idea then. And the question is, could they have put it together? Now, I think the big issue, there wasn't mobile then, right? You don't even think about it. Mark Zuckerberg was a 10th grader, I think. They didn't have the iPhone. The iPod was a year from being created when that merger happened. And I'm not saying it's not, it got killed by execution and timing. Absolutely, that deal. At the same time, this is not that different. It's just a rich uncle that's buying them, I guess. I don't know how else to put it. And the question is, they still have the same cultural issues. I mean, no matter how you slice it, HBO now works for the phone company, right? So it's just pretty simple when you think about it like that. And the question is, can the phone company help them move into the digital future when literally, if you go back in the history of Time Warner, it's one digital disaster after the next, starting with Pathfinder, if you remember that, if you're as old as I am, and moving on down the line. And they just have never been able to take their content and do anything compelling with it in that space. And I'm thinking they could have created Netflix. They could have created this. This is a company that made HBO, which was fantastic, and then sort of blew the opportunity at HBO for a long, long time before they actually put it online. And so you sort of look at all these issues, and I just don't think selling is a victory. I think it's a nice price, and they did fine, but it's certainly not a victory for Time Warner to sell and not figure out its digital future correctly.
Kara, you've come on for, years now, arguing that we're in an environment where big companies are buying smaller companies, others being dressed up for sale, obviously at much lower market caps. But is this the starting gun for M&A becoming the leading dynamic in media?
I don't know if it's a starting gun. I mean, there's been a bunch of them. Yahoo, there's Twitter's on the market, was on the market. I think I started talking this about 6 months ago. Like, now's the time when everything gets sucked up. And I think you're going to see a ton of these kind of consolidations. There's a lot of companies. Netflix is one that I'm sure a lot of people are looking at, even though they might not want to sell. But there's tons and tons of opportunities now to really suck up all the great properties. Now, the question is, will this next government, whichever side wins, tolerate this? Already Tim Kaine has been raising his very lovely eyebrows about the deal and stuff like that. You wonder what the Clinton administration will do. So I think it's going to be a really fascinating time. And the last part is when Google and Apple get in here, if they get in here, that'll make it super interesting to me.
I just wonder if there's anything that a telco can do that people won't hate. I mean, if Google were doing this, if Facebook were doing, I don't know if there would be this knee-jerk reaction. Of course, disclosure, we work for a telco, Comcast. But I mean, this is not an antitrust case in the classic sense. But so many people are coming out saying, "Oh, I hate it. It's going to be hard. Not going to happen."
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't have as many people immediately assuming that this was a scheme to have you swallow up your data plan faster, right?
Yeah, and the telcos have themselves to blame for that.
It'd be different, right?
Yeah.
Kara, last word.
Google and Microsoft have made some terrible acquisition deals. They've blown a bunch of them. So nobody's that good at these things, and they're really hard. I think I really have some admiration for Randall Stephenson in this. I think it's a big move, and it's a smart move, and it's very similar to the Comcast deal. And, the cable guys and the telco guys are getting smart, I guess.
Hey CNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Here you're going to find videos packed with all of the information that you need to be smarter about your finances. You can subscribe by clicking right here and click on all the videos around me or the I right here to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.